Joining us on the phone from Capitol Hill is Congressman Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House. Mr. Speaker, thank you for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Steve. Good to be with you.
We want to focus on the House Republican blueprint and its impact this election year, but want to begin with some news on this Monday. You issued a statement earlier today saying, quote, the selective editing of the Orlando shooter's 911 transcript is preposterous. How so?
Well, I think we ought to be clear-eyed about the threat we face, and I don't think people should be spared from seeing it for what it is. I think we have to understand the threat that's facing our country if we're going to fully appreciate it, grasp it, and deal with it. And so I just don't think that unless it's unique to the investigation, which I don't think was the reasoning here, I don't think we should try to whitewash these things.
But the Attorney General said that she did not want to give any more credence to why he was doing this.
Again, I think we as a country need to see this for what it is and not try to sweep it under the rug. We need to be very clear-eyed about the threat we face, and I think Americans should be treated with respect by seeing this for what exactly it is.
Do you think the administration will change course and release the full transcript?
That I don't. I just have no idea if that's the case or not. I just think it was the wrong decision to make in the first place. That's why I felt compelled to speak out.
All this month, you have been launching what you're calling a better way, 6 areas of reforms for the government. Let me focus on your first priority, poverty and the economy. How will your approach in any way move the needle?
Well, I think it will move the needle because it's so different than the approach we've been taking, which has not moved the needle. We still have 45 million people living in poverty in America. We've just concluded a 50-year war on poverty, and I would argue it's a stalemate. There are some things that have been done well, but there are many things that have more or less backfired. For instance, if you stack up a lot of our welfare programs on top of one another, they end up creating what we call a poverty trap. They basically pay people not to work. They discourage work. And so welfare has ended up becoming a work replacement program when it really needs to be a work encouragement program. And so we want to change the way these programs work so that they always encourage work, so that they're customized to a person's particular needs, and that we measure success based on our poverty programs, our welfare programs, based on results, based on outcomes, not input or effort. That's unfortunately what I think our welfare system has become, which is we measure success based on how much money we're spending, how many programs we're creating, how many people are on those programs, rather than truly measuring success based on are we actually getting people out of poverty? Are we breaking the cycle of poverty? Are we getting poverty at its root causes to try and break that cycle? Those are the big questions I think we need to ask, and those are the answers are the ones that should dictate our reforms, and that's the kind of reform we're calling for.
Let me remind you of a quote from 1989, your mentor Jack Kemp saying that you can be conservative, idealistic, and progressive simultaneously. Is his legacy and his agenda driving part of this?
It is. I mean, I'll make no bones about it. Jack Kemp was a critical mentor to me. His what I call brand of conservatism is the kind I believe in. It's aspirational, it's inclusive, it's optimistic, and it's focused on the dignity of every person and making sure that they have the chance of reaching their potential. And it strives for promoting equality of opportunity so that people can reach their version of the American idea, which is this beautiful idea that the condition of your birth does not determine the outcome of your life. That is what Jack spent his life fighting for. I learned from him. He's the one who, more than anybody else, inspired me to public service, and that's what I'm trying to continue.
Another plank is making the government, in your words, more accountable, and yet it comes at the same time that there is growing frustration by the American people at Washington, at the federal bureaucracy. So how do you change that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think more and more, and it's not just President Obama, but it's administrations, Republican and Democrat in the modern era, have sort of taken over the law-writing function from the legislature. And so we have proposed a very comprehensive list of solutions. Go to better.gop, not just to reform the regulatory state so that we have smarter regulations, but to reform and reclaim the principle of government by consent, self-determination. Right now, we have this fourth branch of government of unelected bureaucrats effectively writing our laws through rules and regulations, and these are bureaucrats we never voted for as people. And so now we're more and more living under laws written by people we never voted for, and this takes away from this critical principle that our laws are written by us through our elected representatives. And so if we want to reclaim self-government, if we want to be able to have a government that's accountable and efficient and accountable to us as people, then we need to reclaim these law-writing powers, what we call Article 1 of the Constitution, to the legislative branch of government. And we've put out a very comprehensive plan to show just how to do that, and you can get it at better.gop.
And we should point out your speeches so far have been on our website at cspan.org. I want to take you back to 2004, the Republican convention in New York City. Here's what you said.
We offer a more hopeful vision to America by reaffirming our party's commitment to freedom and opportunity for all. These are the economic foundations of the American dream. I ask all Americans who share this dream, regardless of party, to join us, to make the tax cuts permanent, and to make the tax code simpler and fairer, so every worker in America has more control over their economic future.
Speaker Ryan, you were talking about the Bush tax cuts in 2004. Is that a big part of your agenda?
Well, tax reform is. I want to go beyond just that. I don't want to go beyond just trimming the code, which is in 2004 what the proposal was at the time and the option on the table. And later this week, we're going to be offering a very comprehensive overhaul of our entire tax system. The tax code has grown out of control. The IRS is far too intrusive in people's lives. And more importantly, we're losing our economic competitiveness, our edge as a country, as an economy, because of our tax code. So we're going to be proposing comprehensive tax reform that's good for families, small businesses, keeping jobs and businesses in America. And that's something that I think is one of the crown jewels of our economic growth package. We really have to take on the issue of tax reform if we're going to help our economy reach its potential and help people get ahead. And so, yes, we're going to be offering something very comprehensive by the end of this week.
And on the issue of repealing and replacing the Affordable Care Act, what do you want to do?
That comes even before. We're going to be offering that earlier. We're going to be offering this week the fifth and sixth installment of our Better Way agenda, which is a plan for patient-centered health care. Everyone knows Republicans are against Obamacare. We've got that part down. What people need to know is that we have good ideas for what we ought to replace it with that reduces the cost of insurance, that gives people more choices, that doesn't create entitlements that bankrupt the country, and that gives us a patient-centered system. So we're going to be offering a comprehensive plan to replace the Affordable Care Act, which has become unaffordable. And then we're also going to offer our own blueprint for tax reform, which we think is just critical to getting jobs and growth back in the economy.
And we will be covering those speeches here on the C-SPAN networks. Let me turn to the politics in all of this. Will congressional Republicans be running on these planks?
Yeah, that's the whole purpose of this. These are not bills that we're going to pass in 2016 with a president who disagrees with us. These are reforms that we're going to be offering in 2016 so that we can earn the right and the mandate from the country to put these in place in 2017. So these are the things that we think, the reforms that are necessary to get our country back on track. We're going to not only just offer them now, but campaign on them all year so that we can earn from the country this choice, so that we can earn this mandate. We want an affirming election so that we can say, here's our solution to get a country back on track, to get it in a better direction. And if we win that election, then we have earned the right and the mandate to put these reforms in place in 2017, and that is exactly what we're seeking to do.
So, Mr. Speaker, is this your version of Contract with America, and are these issues that you think the nominee will run on, Donald Trump?
You could call it that. We call it a better way, but it's a similar kind of an objective. And I have spent many times, many moments meeting with our nominee to make sure that we're on the same page. I'm sure we'll disagree on this detail or that detail. That's to be expected. Congress always negotiates the finer details with the administration when it comes to putting legislation together. But on the critical aspects of this agenda, on the foundations of it, on the basic principles, we are in agreement on these things. And that is why we're moving forward to run on this platform to offer to the country.
And how did you come up with these 6 agenda items?
Through consent, through just bottom up in Congress. We met as a House Republican conference and discussed what are the big agenda items that we want to take to the country that we think are the critical issues that help fix our biggest problems. This does not solve every problem in America. It's not meant to. But what this does is it unites all Republicans, and it unites us around common principles and solutions that improve people's lives that we also think are appealing to people who don't think of themselves as Republicans. And so this is not only a unifying agenda, it's a clarifying agenda. We think of this as an agenda that actually attempts to fix the big pressing problems facing our country that are in urgent need of solutions so that we can go forward with a unified front and offer this agenda to the country.
And finally, do you think that the Senate Republicans will be in the majority next year and that the Republicans will be in control of the House next year?
certainly our goal, certainly our intent. I do think we will, but I also believe we'll be a stronger majority in both the House and the Senate if we are reelected based on an agenda, based on a mandate to get things done. And that's what we're looking for.
Do you feel that you've settled into the job of speakership?
I do. I had to redesign it to fit my own strengths and to fit my own just style. And because I've been able to do that, I do feel like I've grown into it pretty well, and I've been able to just basically make it work for me. I'm a younger guy with a younger family, and so that brings different challenges. And so I've been able to redesign the job to fit my personal issues. I also prefer being more of a policymaker than typically speakers are, and I've been able to maintain that.
One day after Father's Day, have family issues been the biggest challenge?
No, we've been pretty good about that. I've always been pretty hyper-vigilant about managing my schedule, and our members of our conference knew that and understood that it was a non-negotiable condition upon taking this job. Most speakers are empty nesters whose kids are gone, so they have no problem traveling every weekend. I can't do that, and our members understood that. And my other challenge was to make sure that we came together, reached consensus on an agenda, built an agenda together in a bottom-up, grassroots way through our conference by listening to our constituents and then offering it to the country. And we're in the middle of rolling that out. So those are the two critical things that I wanted to focus on as part of my speakership, and I'm pleased that we are here where we are.
House Speaker Paul Ryan joining us on Capitol Hill. Mr. Speaker, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Steve. Take care.